What's going on, my friend? It's Jeff Newport from ChasingStrength.com. And in today's video, we are discussing what I call kettlebell misconceptions, and particularly one that I like to call, I'm too advanced for that. All right. So hopefully you don't recognize yourself in here and, you're open to learning. So let's hop in. Here's a sad truth that I've noticed over the last 30 plus years that keeps people stuck, and it keeps shady marketers making a crap ton of moolah from outrageous claims in the fitness and weight loss space. And this this sad truth is the following. Many people discount or underestimate the amount of work something actually takes and overestimate their abilities, or worse, they do both at the same time. So an example of underestimating is why we ended up with the concept of the magic pill, right? Or the magic weight loss pill. Just take just take these pills, okay? And do it before bed, and you'll wake up and you'll magically be 37 pounds lighter, okay? An example of overestimating, at least in the kettlebell space, is a rash of emails that I've gotten recently from people who are saying that they are too advanced for, a certain kettlebell exercise. One such kettlebell exercise is the swing. Okay, and it doesn't matter which swing we're talking about. It could be the two hand, one hand, or hand to hand. This might seem as kind of a surprise or shock to you if you've watched my videos or you're on my email list, because typically I'm not a big fan of the swing. I don't really like it. It's really boring to me. And part of that is primarily, I shouldn't say part of that, I said it's primarily because of my background in the sport of Olympic lifting. But it does not mean that I don't recognize its value. In fact, the swing has a critically important place. So let's review what that place is. In fact, you could argue it's got multiple places. So let's jump in here. The swing is actually the foundation for all your kettlebell training. If your swing sucks, right, your clean is going to suck and your snatch is probably going to suck too. Okay. And worse, if your swing sucks, you move on to the clean or the snatch, you're probably going to hurt your elbow or shoulder because you actually yank your kettlebell overhead with your arm instead of driving the weight up with your hips and guiding it into the rack position or the overhead lockout position with your arm or your hand. Okay. So in order to avoid this, you've got to practice driving with your hips, and that's going to require you, quote unquote, perfecting your swing. And that's going to take probably about 10,000 reps, okay, to own it, right? Minimum. Number two, the swing is a simple but not necessarily easy conditioning exercise to use when you're learning other kettlebell exercises, right? In fact, one of the biggest mistakes that I see is novices or new kettlebell users try to turn their skill work, right, or their learning of new exercises into Metcon. Okay, that's it's just a fantastic way. Let me tell you, it's a fantastic way to not learn the skill properly and bang your head against the proverbial wall in frustration for the next couple of years, or depending on how you look at it, B, get injured and be one of those people, right, who say something like, kettlebells hurt my shoulder. Kettlebells didn't hurt your shoulder. You hurt your shoulder because you didn't take the time to learn how to use the kettlebell correctly. All right. Number three, the kettlebell swing is great for things like fat loss because of its simplicity, especially when you're learning other kettlebell exercises, right? So a very simple way to stimulate fat loss is to create oxygen debt or get out of breath. One of the problems with getting out of breath is you lose motor control, right? The ability to perform your skill precisely or your skills precisely, especially advanced skills that create more coordination or require more coordination and timing to perform, like the kettlebell snatch, right? So you can practice your kettlebell snatch and do your conditioning with the kettlebell swing, right? So said a different way, the swing is a great exercise to use if you're in fat burning mode, right? While you're learning other and new kettlebell skills. Pretty much the same rationale as the aforementioned point. Point number four here is we're still on talking about the kettlebell swing, right? Can be an incredible challenge if you change the way you perform the kettlebell swing. Again, simple, but not easy. All right. To make your swing more challenging, AKA harder, you can do several things. One, right? You can swing it higher. Two, you can float it longer. Three, you can increase the speed of the backswing. We call those overspeed eccentrics, right? Four, you can use a heavier weight. Five, you can swing it more explosively or faster. And six, you can combine points A through E in any combination of the above, right? So here is a real world personal example. Even though I can perform Turkish get-ups pretty easily with a 48 kilo and could probably pass the Turkish get-up part of the Sinister Challenge, which is 10 total reps of the Turkish get-up with 48 kilos on the minute for 5 minutes. 5 minutes? 10 minutes. I wish it was only 5 minutes for 10 minutes, or one get-up per minute for 10 minutes. I confess readily here that I am not a metabolic master, okay? I cannot perform the other half of sinister 100 one-hand swings for 10 sets of 10 reps every 30 seconds, chest height, completed within 5 minutes using the 48 kilo. Why not? If you're like kettlebell master guy, like why can't you do it? Simple. No pun intended. I don't want to. I have no desire to do that. I do not derive any sort of enjoyment out of that type of training. And so my training is geared towards primarily strength and power work, and I'll back it up with some conditioning work when I feel it's necessary. Okay. So, Jeff, are you saying this would be hard for you? Yeah, it would actually be really hard for me to get a 10 by 10 right now because, again, I don't train in that rep range and I don't train with those compressed rest periods. So it's not that the 48 kilo is heavy per se for me, right? But it's rather, again, because I don't have the kind of conditioning necessary, nor do I care to train for it. Okay. So would it be a challenge for me? Yeah, absolutely. And like I have just pointed out repeatedly, that's because conditioning is my, for lack of a better term, weakness. Okay. At least that type of conditioning is. So am I too advanced to swing a 48 kilo kettlebell for sets of 10? No, not at all, right? It's just my preference, right? And here's a key point. It's my preference that I do not want to accept that challenge and train for that goal, right? It's a preference. And so it is for everybody else, right? And so it is for you too. Now, here's a little note. I will confess that I have done some training, right, with that 48 kilo. When I was training for BJJ, right, to prepare my body for BJJ, one hand swings with the 48 kilo on the minute, right? That was pretty standard procedure. It's not that I'm not familiar with it. Just, again, choose not to do it. It has a time and a place. And this period of my life is neither the time nor the place. So generally speaking, to wrap up, follow this 5-step hierarchy of how you should train to use each kettlebell exercise. Okay. This is going to be in the description below, so you can copy and paste it, put it in your notebook or whatever. So number one, what you need to do first is you need to learn the skill. Number two, you need to train that skill. Then number three, you train for strength in that skill. Number four, you train for conditioning in that skill. And last, number five, you train for fat loss using that skill, or said another way, that particular kettlebell exercise. Okay. Now, can you combine the exercises in this hierarchy based upon your goal? In other words, can you train for a skill and or strength and lose body fat at the same time? Can you mix those 5 things? Yes. Absolutely. You just, like everything else in life, you just have to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, or you don't want to take the time or energy to figure out all the details of watching your press numbers go up in your training log while seeing more muscle definition in the mirror, or if your pants are too tight in the waist and you want them to feel looser again, then I will leave several links in the description below to programs that will help you do just that. All right. So hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, click the like button, smash the subscribe button, leave me a comment in the comment section below, and share this video with a friend who needs help with this information. Okay. Until next time, my friend, stay strong.